Hello friends, for today's video I'm going to be now doing part 3 alongside my husband to react to the assumptions for manga that were submitted over on my main channel. If you missed part 1 and part 2, the idea is my main channel is primarily focused on books, specifically fantasy books, and I asked people over there to submit their assumptions about manga, and some of the assumptions were pretty interesting, and so we've been diving into the different assumptions and really kind of categorizing them into specific topics. I'll have part 1 and part 2 linked if you're interested in watching those. But without further ado, let's react to some more manga assumptions.
All right, so we've been leading up to this. Are you ready? The most commented comment.
Yeah.
All right, squeaky voice over-sexualized anime girls that always seem to pop up. Both annoy me and creep me out. I have to get through all of them. Sexualization of very young girls, particularly schoolgirls, lack of consent, groping, fetishization of female innocence, submissiveness, and helplessness. In my brief dabbling, I found that most of the female characters were poorly written or downright offensive, so I lost interest. They do say would love any recommendations where that is not the case. For reference, Arcane is awesome.
Arcane is awesome.
At first, I thought they were mostly for kids with how wild and over-the-top the animation voice acting was, but then the more I saw in passing, the more my opinion swung to the complete opposite, and I assumed by all the hyper-sexualized women that was some sort of fetish content for adults. I still don't know anything about anime or manga, really, other than Avatar: The Last Airbender is the only one I like, but it's apparently not even anime, so I have no idea. Let's see, skimming... I'm very apprehensive about the portrayal of female characters. For example, I do not like it when women are drawn in super unrealistic / scarcely dressed / more sexual ways. Also, I do not like the use of stereotypes for female characters. Super innocent, frail, angelic, super quirky, or super grumpy. Let's see. Underage girls getting groped by old men. Protagonist either does have or could easily start a harem. Let's see. There's way too much fan service, maybe a little over the top with the over-sexualization of women. Some of the clips I see online are legitimately insane. The women are overly sexualized, which is wholly unnecessary. And I think that is it. That's it. That was the most commented comment.
I think it does a disservice to not admit that there absolutely is an issue with that occurring. And that bugs me too.
Fairy Tail is pretty bad.
One Piece has a girl in just like a tiny bikini, right? When she's an adult.
I think.
I've seen the Fairy Tail one.
Yeah.
It's not. So I don't care for that either. It really irks me. So I think Witch Hat is a great example of one. There's not any weirdness at all in that regard. And in fact, there's a part of the story where somebody tries to use something magical to do something gross with this particular magical object, and the manga lets you know if you do not want... It's a very, very brief thing, and it's not extremely explicit, but it's definitely making a note of this kind of behavior is unacceptable. Look what it does to a person. Look at the way it can completely shatter your confidence and the way it can make you very afraid to go to higher-ups, and because you're afraid you're going to be dismissed or people are going to blame it on you somehow. Like, it does it very briefly, but very well. And so not only does it not fall into those traps, but I think it does a great job of actually being a voice for those sorts of things, as opposed to making it a funny joke, which I can't stand. I don't think that's funny. I don't think it's ever funny. So I would say that's a good example of one. Thus far in Golden Kamuy, I think Golden Kamuy is amazing, and I haven't gotten that far in, but so far it's just very historical fiction, and I think that the person who's done this story has introduced me to an entire group of people that I didn't know basically anything about, and their culture, and it's, because again, this one's historical fiction, it's fascinating to follow and to see, so I'd say that's a good example of one. I do think something that people haven't really said, but I'm going to add, is that the adult manga out there can go even further, where then they're just shock value. Look at all the assault. And there's certain ones I don't even want to pick up because it's it's not making any kind of notable commentary. It's just throwing it in there to be shocking or to be like, look how bleak and horrible this world is. And I'm like, okay, thanks for that. Sure. I didn't need 20 pages. Yeah, okay, thanks, Sean. I didn't need 20 pages of that. Thank you very much. So I mentioned Witch Hat, Golden Kamuy. I think
Girl from the Other Side is good too.
That's the other one. Yeah, Girl from the Other Side, there's not really anything like that in that manga at all. And I really think, Sean mentioned this when we were talking about art, I think people will be like, this is kind of weird and very, very basic art, but it is kind of haunting in its simplicity. I think that's a really good one. I actually think Full Metal, there's one character whose proportions are a lot, but it's not every single character by any means. It's more of like that. Well, okay, Lust, obviously, because she's one of the 7 deadly sin representations. So she's, of course, going to be drawn like that. No, I shouldn't say of course. She doesn't have to be, but it'd be weird. It'd be kind of weird if she was like really bundled up all the time and was just not bringing that about at all. That character, of course, but I'm thinking of a different character who's kind of just a normal person. In fact, that's the big joke, is that they're just a normal housewife, and that's what she always says after being an awesome character. I'd say she's kind of drawn with slightly unrealistic proportions, but it's not like every single character in that is being overly sexualized or anything. I don't think, and that's it's nice. It's refreshing to see. It not being as much of an issue.
I'll say a couple things. Again, I think it's just kind of maybe the genre you're going for too, because I haven't read like a ton of, I don't know, I guess more contemporary stuff. But again, I'm just kind of looking at the shelf. I haven't read A Silent Voice yet, but I'm pretty sure that one is just kind of more like a drama school setting
just
thing.
Just about a girl being bullied, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything necessarily, sexualized in there. Other point though is, and maybe I'm speaking to people who don't read American comics, but if I am, American comics don't have a great track record of this either. I think it's getting better, and I think it's gotten better in the last decade. But for a while, it was basically like drawing women pretty sexualized all the time, Catwoman or Wonder Woman, all these characters.
Well, and some of the outfits, they might as well be naked because their outfits are so tight. And I'm like, okay, I wear leggings, I wear bike shorts. You don't see every single little detail like that. They draw it's like up their butt crack and their chests. It's like you get the perfect definition of everything. So yeah, those kind of drawings are annoying. We think that they're annoying too. It makes sense when there's a character who that is kind of a part of their character, is that they are that kind of femme fatale type. But then there's characters that are just characters, and it's like, no matter who the woman is, they're just all like that, and that's silly. I mean, and I think
I'll just say, I do think it's especially not my favorite when it is
younger.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say when it is overtly fan service-y, but it is a shonen. I think I brought up Fairy Tail, but Fairy Tail is kind of weird in that it's a lot similar to fighting manga, like Bleach and Naruto and One Piece and all that, except I do feel like it goes pretty hard in the fan service, and it's kind of like, who is this for? Is this for, young people? I don't really know.
One thing that certainly I think there will be people that would push back and insist that it's not an issue, and then those same people, if a woman is online talking about some of their favorites, they will sexualize that woman. So it's like, if the character's not being sexualized for them, they will do the sexualizing, and then they do it to real women. So just don't be gross, I feel like that's the takeaway. Don't be gross. But yeah, I think that there are issues of it, but it depends on what you're looking at, everything. Just depends. Yeah. But I will push back a tiny bit, not to say that it's not a problem or to dismiss it, But fantasy books for a long time had the exact same reputation. It had the reputation, I guess it's slightly different because it's not visual, but the way that women would be described, the way they would be portrayed, the way that they would behave, it was tiresome to read. And I think it's gotten so much better. But when you look at some of the fantasy that is known for being popular, some of the best fantasy of all time, a lot of those are not necessarily brand new releases. So then our perception is based off of those slightly older ones that are now incredibly popular or are considered staples. And I think the same thing can be said in a lot of ways for manga and anime, because a lot of the new stuff that's coming out or the stuff that's being completed as of late, I don't think suffers from these same issues. And again, speaking about Witch Hat Atelier, I think Spy Family is not... I don't think there's really gross stuff in Spy Family. I think the main adult woman has, a certain kind of figure, but it's not like she's constantly sexualized or anything like that. So I don't think it suffers from those issues. And it would be weird if it did in that instance where I feel like the pitch is that look at this cute, wholesome family of the found family. It'd be really weird if it's like, look at this found family and oh, look at them all bending over as she tries to get something from the oven. Like, it would be really, really bizarre and gross. And I think that's people's point, is a lot of times it is bizarre and gross. That's what you were saying earlier, that it's especially gross when you're wondering, like, who's this for?
So I will wrap it up here with a few comments from people who like manga and anime. And just so you don't have to take our word for it, you can look at these comments. Okay. I'll admit for the longest time I didn't entertain either because I thought they were childish. A friend introduced me to The Last Airbender several years ago and I fell in love with it. It's probably more on the childish spectrum compared to other things, but I love the storytelling. Then I got into other manga and animes and the rest is history. The storytelling is fantastic and often there's quirks and humor, but it doesn't take away from the seriousness of the plot. Lately I've been enjoying manga more than comics. So there you go. That's one testimonial. Nice. I've been consuming anime and manga for a couple of years now. Not a whole lot of it in comparison to that time, but still. I think they just mean maybe not a whole lot compared to others, I think. I think something important to realize, because it took me a long time to actually try to watch an anime, is that animation is a medium, just one type of entertainment, and just like others, live action TV shows and movies, books, games, plays, there's good stuff and there's bad stuff. I guess for anime, the bad stuff might feel overwhelming at times, especially with some of the people that like that side of it, but there's good stuff out there, you just gotta look. Not all of it falls into the same tropes or cliches, which other entertainment areas can also do. Definitely agree that over-sexualization is a major issue, though. It's really hard to escape completely, but in most good stuff, it's mild or easy to skip over. There you go.
I think that person just very concisely summed up what
saying.
We've been going over and over and over again saying.
And last testimonial. Manga anime fan here, but wanted to answer anyways. I think those biases, expectations are more ingrained into the different styles of anime compared to anime itself. Shonen is usually viewed as long and full of action. Isekai is essentially just power fantasy, etc. I find I have a bias against isekai, where I find it's the most likely to mess up, to have poor animation or production quality. Or if it gets that right, it certainly has too many perverse elements. Looking at you, jobless reincarnation to keep being enjoyable. I don't know what that is. I don't know what jobless reincarnation is. I will say to anyone in this comment section, just like TV has different genres, anime manga has different genres. There are romance manga, action battle manga, comedy, 18 and up, etc., etc. Do a little research into what interests you, and I think you'll find some stories you really love. This is also where I plug A Silent Voice, because I think everyone needs to watch that movie at least once in their lives. So there you go. Testimonials.
There you go. Luna's grumbling. She came in late and she just sighed really loudly. Yay! Hopefully this was fun for everybody. A big thanks to Sean for joining me today from Sean's Corner. It was a lot of fun, and I appreciate so many of you being honest, and then also I feel like open. Even though some of them had slightly more negative connotations, I don't think it was coming from a place of genre snobbery or medium genre. That didn't make sense. Medium snobbery. a brie. That sounds like some kind of coffee barista person. But anyway, that's it though. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you for your submissions. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you later. Bye. And now let's see Luna Bear. Oh, there she is. Hi, Luna. Hi, Luna Bear. Hi. Are you happy, girl? Yeah. Sean, she's looking at the door. She wants you to come out. Yay! Dad's here. Flappy, 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 flappy.